Monday Health Minutes, sponsored by Valley Health.
Hi, I'm Melanie Schaefer. This is Monday Health Minutes. It's estimated that about 1 million couples in the United States have difficulty conceiving after a year of trying. But to get to the bottom of that, what are the fertility issues? What help is there out there? How do you figure out what the problem is? We're talking with obstetrician and gynecologist Dr. Stephen Brumfield about that today. Thanks so much for being here.
Welcome.
What really defines infertility?
So the precise definition you sort of alluded to is 12 months of attempting conception without a pregnancy happening. We make a little caveat in older moms above 35. If it's been 6 months without conceiving, we will begin the process of evaluating infertility.
So at what point should a couple think, is it that year mark that they should start consulting a doctor if they have trouble, or before that?
Right. There are certain conditions for which you may want to come in sooner, certainly at a year. If you've been trying pretty consistently for a year and haven't conceived in that time, then yeah, definitely come at that point. Again, if you're above the age of 35, you certainly want to come in sooner. If you're having certain conditions, as I said, like not having periods, you're probably not going to conceive, and there's really not a whole lot of benefit to waiting a full year on something like that.
So if you have those kind of issues or at a certain age, like you said, that 35 mark, maybe start with the doctor rather than wait.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. A lot of couples, you know, when they're ready, they're ready.
Right.
And it's hard when things don't just automatically go as planned and as hoped. What are some of the common causes of infertility, or are there such things as common causes?
There certainly are. There are specific conditions, but we sort of break it down into, you know, where in the pathway of getting pregnant is there a problem, and we think about it pretty simply in terms of what do you need to get pregnant? You need eggs, sperm, a way for them to get together, which is the fallopian tube, and a place for a pregnancy to implant, which is the uterus. And so we just evaluate each of those aspects of conceiving, try to figure out where there's a problem, and go from there. Again, some specific conditions. There are things that we see commonly like endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, some things like that we go with, but we more base it where in that pathway is there a problem.
So sort of the process of elimination. You start here and kind of check all the boxes with different tests. Describe to me what kind of testing there is to sort of identify what the cause is.
So we usually start with a series of tests, again, just to evaluate each of those things. Typically blood work for mom, for the woman. It's awkward, but a semen analysis is a really straightforward test for the man. Tubes, the fallopian tubes, are probably the hardest thing to evaluate. Typically, the most common test for that is called an HSG, big long doctor word, histosalpingogram, which is a test done at the hospital with x-ray and some dye passed through the tubes. That test has some benefit in actually increasing the chances of getting pregnant and beyond just ruling out a problem. And then ultrasound. So those are kind of our basic tests that we look at to try to figure out where there's an issue.
And once you identify the problem, what kind of treatments are there out there?
So it depends on the specific cause, of course. If, say, the fallopian tubes are blocked, you can do surgery for the fallopian tubes, or you can do what we call in vitro fertilization, IVF, people call it for short, to bypass the tubes altogether. One of the more common causes is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is when the root issue is that women don't ovulate regularly, or certainly in a predictable way. And that's one of the simpler things to overcome in most cases, where we have medications and occasionally a surgery, but usually medications that can help correct that problem.
So it's so good to know that there is help out there once you start identifying that. Because when you want to start your family, you certainly don't want to wait any longer.
It's very discouraging for folks.
It is.
And we see far too often, too, women that have somewhere along the way, somebody has told them they'll never be able to get pregnant. And so they just put it off and don't seek any additional help. And that's just almost never true as far as never say never.
Right.
So, folks, if you want to consider having a baby, just come see us, and we can start the process. And modern medicine has really provided some amazing interventions that can help even some of the most severe problems.
What an encouraging way to end this conversation. Dr. Brumfield, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for checking in on Valley Health Minutes.